Ready? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravijikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravijikacharya Ashtotartha Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Jai, can you get those curtains? Thanks. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamadirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of April, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 8, Lord Nrsingadev slays the king of the demons. And we're beginning with text 8. Yes. Saha Ishvaraha Kala Urukramo Asav Ojaha Saha Sattva Balendriyatma Saeva Vishvam Padamaha Swashaktibihi Srijati Avati Atti Gunatrayeshaha. Okay. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahas Sattva Balendriyatma Saeva Vishvam Padamak Swashaktibi Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahas Sattva Balendriyatma Saheva Vishvam Padamak Swashaktibihi Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahak Sattva Balendriyatma Saheva Vishvam Padamak Swashaktibi Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahak Sattva Balendriyatma Swaheva Vishvam Padamak Swashaktibi Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahak Sattva Balendriyatma Saheva Vishvam Padamak Swashaktibi Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Go, try it. Sa Ishvara Kala Hurukramo Sav Ojak Sahak Sattva Balendriyatma Shakti B. Say Vavishvam Padamak Swashakti B. Swijatya Vatjati Gunatrayeshaha. Okay. Word by words. Saha. He. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvaraha. The Supreme Controller. Kalaha. The time factor. Urukramaha. The Lord. whose every action is uncommon. Asau, that one. Ojaha, the strength of the senses. Saha, the strength of the mind. Sattva, steadiness. Bala, bodily strength. Indriya, and of the senses themselves. Atma, the very self. Saha, he. Eva, indeed. Vishwam, the whole universe. Paramaha, the supreme. Svashaktibihi, by his multifarious transcendental potencies. Srijati, creates. Avati, maintains. Atti, winds up. Gunatraya Ishaha, the master of the material modes. Translation. So Prahlāda is continuing to speak to his father, Hiranyakashipu. Thank you. The Supreme Personality says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller and time factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities, the controller of the three modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. Purport. Since the material world is being moved by the three material modes, and since the Lord is their master, the Lord can create, maintain, and destroy the material world. That's the end of the purport. I'm going to read text 9 also. Jaya sudam bhavamimam tamatmanaham samam mano datsvana santi vidvishaha rite jitaratmana utpate stitat taddi yanantasya mahatsamarhanam. Translation. Prahlāda Maharaj continued, my dear father, although that's not in the Sanskrit, my dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshiping the Lord perfectly. Purport. Unless one is able to fix the mind at the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind is impossible to control. As Arjuna says in the Bhagavad Gita 6:34, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayar eva suduskaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, it seems to me, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Close quote. The only bona fide process for controlling the mind is to fix the mind by service to the Lord. We create enemies and friends according to the dictation of the mind. But actually there are no enemies and friends. Pandita samadarshinaha samak sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. To understand this is the preliminary condition for entering into the kingdom of devotional service. So Pandita Samadarshana means those who are wise see everyone equally in the sense that they see the super soul in an elephant, in a dog, in a Brahman, like that. And Samak Sarveshu Buddhishu Mad Bhaktim Labate Param is the last half of the verse, starting Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nashochati Nakanchati Samak Sarveshu Buddhishu. So this is one who has risen up to the Brahma Bhuta platform. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So this is another amazing talk between Prahlāda and his father. He's not showing the slightest fear. His father is threatening to kill him, and it certainly seems like he's outmatched. Prahlāda is this delicate little 5-year-old boy, and his father is this enormous, monstrous demon who's conquered the rest of the universe. But Prahlāda is doing what he always does. He's simply speaking the absolute truth, whether it's to his friends or his father or anywhere. So his father asked him, where do you get your strength? Because he obviously showed his strength so many times. More or less, there's great strength in being able to defend, not just be able to attack. Prahlāda was able to tolerate, without the slightest signal of fear or anything, the attacks of the henchmen, Hiranyakashipu, when he put them on to kill him, when he first said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smadaram, Padasevanam, what do you learn best? Oh, the 9 processes of devotional service. So that was too much for Hiranyakashipu. All right, kill him, throw him under the feet of the elephants, threw him off a cliff, and put a poisonous snake on him, tried to boil him in oil, everything they could think of. And not only wasn't he injured, but he wasn't disturbed, which is absolutely amazing. It's a indication of his absolute, complete meditation and absorption in the Lord, and complete confidence that Krishna will protect him. So then, what was Hiranyakashipu to do? He says, "Well, okay, go back to school, try to fix him up." And Chandramarka said, "Don't worry, he's just a young boy. We can." So what happened is that Prahlāda saw a great preaching opportunity. When Chandramarka went on a tiffin hour, I don't know, maybe they took a long lunch, whatever, as they weren't around, and then he took the opportunity to preach the absolute truth to his classmates, and they were really into it. They were absorbing it, and they were becoming devotees, and they became devotees. So this was the last straw for Hiranyakashipu when he learned that from Chandramarka. And he confronts Prahlāda and said, where do you get your strength from? Remember that? He asked him his question. And the answer is, same place you do, father. We didn't call him his father till he was dead, then they called him his father. And then, so he's explaining this. Now, in a few verses, he's basically saying that. And then he advises his father to give up your demoniac mentality and do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Now, that type of discrimination is due to a mentality that's controlled by the modes of nature, right? When you completely forgot Krishna and you're fully in Maya, then you're making all of the distinction based on externals, on who likes me, who is like me, same color, born in the same place. Okay, we have something, right? There's so much of that. And that's exactly opposite to what is said in the Bhagavad Gita, which Prahlāda is more or less expressing. Samoham savabhuteshu name dvesho sinapaya vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane vihastari shuni chaiva bhakti pandita samadarshana. Prabhupada quotes that part of that verse here. So this is one of the indications of advancement, of transcendental consciousness beyond the modes of nature. Pandita, a real pandit, a learned person who's understood the science of devotional service. Whether he sees a learned and gentle Brahman, Vidyamani Sampane Brahmani, or a cow, or an elephant, Shuni is a dog, or the dog eater, he sees them the same, in the sense that he sees the soul everywhere. It's not that he deals with them all the same. If there's a vicious lion there, you're not going to, oh, my brother, we're souls, No, but you see that this is your vision. And therefore, you're not trying to exploit one and make friends with the other. This is Machiavellian mentality, which is what demonic mentality is. How can I make alliances so that my enemies can be killed and I'll expand my power? So that's exactly what Hiranyakashipu is into. The demonic mentality is that, is described nicely, so beautifully in the 16th chapter. So he's saying to his father, please give up your demonic mentality. Well, okay. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised toward everyone. Then, this is the key word here. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there's no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshiping the Lord. So, I wanted to focus on that, which Prabhupada does in the purport. He quotes from Bhagavad Gita about how the mind is the key in any yoga process, serious yoga process, not just hatha yoga to lose weight and get healthy, which would work, but that's not the real goal of yoga. The goal of yoga is to take control of the mind and fix it on the Supreme for our eternal benefit of breaking free from the bonds of birth and death and going back to Godhead. That's the ultimate mission of every living entity. But only human beings can understand it. And vast majority of human beings, especially in this age, have no idea. And they're averse to hearing about it. There's a minority who can be approached and who are receptive, and those are the people we work with, and those who we were, and now we are seriously trying to pursue this philosophy. So I wanted to focus on this. First of all, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, as you may remember, there's that key verse that Prabhupada quotes, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridham, that Arjuna is pleading with Krishna that he can't really practice this process of yoga to control the mind, the Ashtanga yoga process, official meditation. Because the mind is very, very restless and very, very stubborn. Chanchalam himana pramati balavad, very, very strong and powerful. And like he pleads that trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. You can't, even if it's just a little breeze, you can't control it. What to speak if it's 150 miles an hour, hurricane? It's impossible. It's just so strong. So then Krishna, because we just read this in the evening class, he says, yes, it's difficult, but it's possible with practice. And he encourages Arjuna. And Arjuna said, well, okay, but what if you fail? It would be like a riven cloud. He's not very sanguine about, very hopeful about him practicing it. So ultimately, and in the purports, Prabhupada is of course explaining that in this age, it's not really practicable. Very few yogis can do that. By the way, I just wanted to let you know, there's a series of recordings of Srila Prabhupada giving lectures called the Yoga System Tapes, in which Prabhupada goes through the whole 6th chapter. And he's speaking mostly in 1969 in LA. And, there's this eager, wonderful audience to hear. And, it's a wonderful series. I highly recommend it. If you don't have access to it, I can give it to you. And this is coming up again and again. And Prabhupada is talking is mentioning, as he does in the purports in the Bhagavad Gita, that it's not practical in this age. The mind is so powerful and in the modes of nature. And to try to control it directly by this Ashtanga yoga practice, it's a bona fide process, but not really practical for 99.9% of people in this age. But he says there, and Krishna says to Arjuna, but you have to be a yogi, Arjuna. Be a yogi, So how to be a yogi, but you can't do Ashtanga yoga. Bhakti yoga is the means in this age. Krishna has come again as Lord Chaitanya to give us the process. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, eva kevalam kalo nasteva, 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 gatiranyata. When you repeat something, it's very emphatic. When you do 3 times, you're really emphasizing it. So in this age, there's no other way, no other way, no other way to control the mind, to fix the mind on the Lord, to go back to Godhead, but adopting the serious chanting of the holy name under the guidance of the Shastra and the Gurus and the Sadhus. So I wanted to share a few verses because prayers actually, because we can pray. The mind is so difficult. Prabhupada is very, he liked this one that's quoted in the Madhya Lila, chapter 1, verse 206. This one is by Yamunacharya. In his Stotra Ratna, there's several prayers quoted, and this is the one Prabhupada would most often quote. Bhavantam evanuchadam dedantarak, prashanta nikshesa manoratantarak, kadahamai kantika nitya kinkada, praharshiyasyami sanata jivatam. So he's praying directly to the Lord. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? And there's this phrase here, Prashanta Nikshesa Mano Rata Antara. Now, this is a result of surrendering to you, to getting your mercy. So prashanta means to pacify the endless mind, ratantara, monorata, the chariot of the mind, the chariot of the mind. Did you ever hear about the train of thought? It's like that, right? Yeah, well, classic is you're in the third grade and you're looking out the window, you can't wait for recess or whatever, and the teacher says, stop your mind wandering, your mind is wandering, and bring it back to the subject. So this is the idea, is that the mind is very fickle. Once we lose, we're not fixed on Krishna anymore. We've come to the material world, and through the senses, we're perceiving this whole world, and there's constant judgment going on. Oh, this is interesting. I can enjoy this, Or you read something, some novel, or watch something. The mind is involved in becoming attracted and becoming saturated with desire. That the mind is such an important element. So, if you think about it, Krishna consciousness is a way of drawing the mind away from those things and placing it on Krishna, beginning with the chanting of the holy name. And because the name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna, which is inconceivable, but that's a basic principle of our philosophy, and confirmed in the Shastra. Abhinatva namanamino. Therefore, simply by chanting the name and trying to hear, we can become attracted to Krishna. We can become and unattracted, or attain detachment from other things that we've been attracted to. This is the source of any spiritual strength that we have. It's rooted in the holy name. Now, then it expands. We have the deities, we have all of the other vibrations that we're privy to, and that simply deepens it, because the intelligence has to be engaged as well. In the third chapter, at the end of the chapter, there's a key section on the lust. Arjuna asks the question, Natakena payuktodam prapantati purusha enichanda vivashna baladi vinayojita. It says, what is it that forces one to act against his own self-interest, even though you may know that? Your intelligence knows it's not the right thing to do, but you force it. I mean, isn't this the whole problem of addiction? People become addicted to some drug, or to cigarettes or whatever, which is also a drug, the nicotine, and then it overwhelms their reason, their discrimination. Right on the package, it's saying cigarette smoking is hazardous to your health, but you can't act on that advice. It's just you're in the control of this substance, because the senses have become addicted. Senses are overcoming the mind, mind is overcoming the intelligence. In other words, the lower self is controlling the higher self. So Krishna consciousness is a way of strengthening that higher self by the process of devotional service, or everything that we do. And in the process of doing that, becoming freed from the attachments of this world and becoming attached to Krishna. I always like to refer to this section, the second chapter of the first canto. And what does Sutta Goswami say? What is the real dharma in the say? Give us what dharma is, And of course that immortal verse, Savai Pangsang Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hokshaje Ahaitukya Pratayata Yatma Suprasiditi. So it says the supreme dharma for everyone. Tapas kept his promise. All the way to India and back. In less than a week. Hare Krishna. And Singapore too. Oh, okay. Thank you. Nice to see you, Prabhu. So he's saying the supreme dharma for everyone, parodharma yata, is that which engenders bhakti to adhokshaja, the transcendent Lord. What's the quality of the bhakti? A haituki and a pratayata. This phrase appears more or less like that in several places in the Bhagavatam. Very key. It's just like, it's related to that verse in the Bhakti Samana Sindhu and Yabilasha Dashunyam, describing what pure devotion is. So a haituki means without cause, without material cause. We're not serving Krishna so that we can become prosperous, so that we can go to heaven, so that we can, whatever, Simply with the desire to please Krishna, Guru and Krishna. And to really be effective, it has to be unbroken. It's not something that you would do on Sundays, you know, or, oh, okay, this is my hour to perform Bhakti Yoga. And it doesn't work like that. To really get the benefit, that can truly satisfy the self, supersedity. The very next verse is describing what I just mentioned. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayira Hoitukam. By serving Vasudeva, Krishna, the transcendent Lord, Bhakti Yoga with devotional service, Janayatyashu very quickly generates. The word Janayati is practically the English word, generate. And Ashu means quickly. What? Vairagya. Accompanied by jnana, accompanied by knowledge. In other words, vairagya that's not accompanied by knowledge is very weak. You become detached from something and you know why it's good to be detached. The knowledge that this thing is so damaging and what I become attached to is very wholesome in Krishna. Janayashu Vairam Jnanam Cha Yada Haitukam. Now again the word Haituki appears twice in a row. One is that your service is meant to be without material motivation. That's what Haitu means. But a Haituki also means automatically. In other words, you serve Krishna and you know, chant, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, all the processes, beginning with hearing and chanting and remembering. You'll automatically become attached to Krishna. That's the meaning of his name. Krishna means all attractive. In all ways, infinitely. So you're exposed to Krishna with the holy name and the deities and the process, and you're taking it seriously. You're going to become attached to Krishna and everything related to Krishna. And simultaneously, you'll be detached. Those addictions will go away from you, you know. And Prabhupada's, I'm listening to this 6th chapter lecture, and Prabhupada's lectures, and they're really wonderful. And he's talking about that in relation to sex life, how you have to be determined. Right? Utsaha nishayat dharyat tat karma pravartana. This is the nectar of instruction. What's the formula? You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be patient. And you have to be determined. In relation to what? Tat karma pravartanat. All the processes of devotional service that we perform. Engage in them enthusiastically and with determination, and you're patiently doing it, knowing you'll get the result. And one of the first results, again, is the material energy is not impinging on you as much. You're not attracted to do the things you used to be doing, you want to do. You remember them, but as Prabhupada would love to quote the verse, Yamunacharya, is again Yamunacharya. He remembers the sex life he had when he was the king, and he spits at the thought. It's not something that, oh, I wish I could do that again. No. It's like, oh, thank God I'm through with that, you know. So that detachment is very important. So then there's another one. This is from Queen Kunti. She also, her prayers are very wonderful. Prabhupada loved them. He made a recording of all the Sanskrit, which is unusual, And near the end, my favorite one, it's all about the mind. That's part of it. She's praying that my mind be drawn to you and not be diverted. Tvayame ananda vishaya matir modapate asakrit. So it's very interesting. She begins with the mind and ends with the heart, the love. O Lord of Madhu, that's Krishna, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. So the first line, 2 lines, Tvayame unto you, Ananya Vishaya, without any other subject. Mati, my attention, my mind. Madhupate, asakrit, means not once, but always, continuously. Let my mind be fixed upon you, and let it carry my love, my rati, directly to you in such a powerful way, just like the Ganges is flowing to the sea. When it reaches the sea, that's the most powerful flow of any river, when it's just about to enter the sea. They call Ganga Sagara, So that means that let it be so strong that it cannot be diverted. Just be directed to you. So it's important to sometimes pray that Krishna will control the mind. Deva Bhavandam Vande. Oh, this is a beautiful song. Deva Bhavandam Vande Manmanasamadakatama Payanita Patapankachamagadande. Prabhupada quoted not the Sanskrit but the whole translation of this in the purport. I think it's in the 2nd canto in the purport. So, forgive me, there's a little poem involved. So this is the the refrain line. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat, please place the bee of my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. And then he says, though even Brahma, deep in trance, cannot achieve his goal, a glimpse of your effulgent toenails, soothing to the soul. Because, O Lord, I've heard of your compassion's endless waves, that very vision is the only boon my poor heart craves. So he's saying that it's not easy, to get a glimpse of your actual lotus feet. Even Brahma can't do it. But I've heard of how compassionate you are and how powerful that is, so I'm begging you for that. Then he says, O Madhava, despite great effort, I have not attained a drop of pure devotion. This has brought me endless pain. Yet though it seems impossible to ever fill this need, your monumental power gives me hope I shall succeed. So he's instructing us how to pray, in these verses, just like the Narottam Das and Bhakti Vinod. So he says, I'm so bereft, I have not a drop of affection for you, love. But your compassion is so great and your strength is so great, the Paramatma, that I know that you can arrange this if you like. So I'm begging you, oh Krishna, dearest Lord, I beg you, please place the bee of my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. So this bee of the restless mind is just a chanchalam himana Krishna. So recognizing that, he's praying for mercy. And then the last verse, he says, today, O Lord, I pray that my mind will fix upon your feet, which contains I'm forgetting the actual poetry, ambrosia that's completely sweet. I pray that for eternity my mind may there reside to relish the luscious honey that defeats ambrosia's pride. So we can pray like that. This is Rupa Goswami is teaching us in his song. This is why Prabhupada gave it to us in his purport, And then there's not only prayer, but also the instruction. You can instruct your mind. There's several manak shikshas. The most famous is Raghunath Das Goswami. I'm not going to go through them. They're very conclusive and rich. In fact, there was a book put together based on this manak shiksha with Bhakti Vinod Thakur's commentary, and also some commentary. Shiva Ram Swami has some commentary in there on it. A very wonderful book. So this is the key in any yoga practice, in also bhakti yoga, is the mind. The mind that is absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna and in service is a great agent for happiness, for our happiness. But the mind that's uncontrolled, and this brings us to the 6th chapter again. Urdhred atmanatmanam, natmanam avasarayet, atma vyapano bandhu, atma riparatmanaha. Krishna lays it down and lays down the line. The truth. He said, one should uplift himself by his mind, not degrade himself. The mind is the best friend of the living enemy and the worst enemy as well, depending on how you use it. Now, as human beings, because of the developed intelligence, we can direct the mind if we have a mind to, if we're inspired. And that's where the association is so important. We get association of a pure devotee directly or through some medium, and this fills our intelligence with ideas and with desire to go down a different path, not the material path. Otherwise, what's going to happen? You're going to be exposed to so many influences from different modes of nature, and you're going to get attracted here, attracted there, and the intelligence will be misused in trying to achieve something in this material world, some material happiness, which is impossible. It's a dead end. It's almost like the most skillful sales job is done by Maya. She presents to you things that you're naturally attracted to in whatever species of life you happen to be in, and you're also given the strength to try to achieve that, and you may even achieve some of it. And some few people feel, oh, I got it made, I got enough money, and I'm living here, and I've got this mate and everything. But it's all very ephemeral. It's all as substantial as a wisp of smoke, because it comes and goes. But you don't come and go. You're eternal. And so then inevitably you become disappointed. You become bereft. Your life is a waste. You know, any pure materialist near the end of their life, they're lamenting all kinds of things. You know, why I didn't do this, and how this happened, and what's going to happen to me now. You know, it's just a whole bunch of fear and anxiety, and I've seen so many people die in that state. You know. And so, but devotees, we've seen devotees, you know, successfully leave their body in a very blissful and peaceful state of mind. You know, Jayananda, I wasn't there by his bedside, but he was hearing Prabhupada chant. He had devotees chanting with him, and he was so dear to Prabhupada. He wrote a letter to Jayananda after he disappeared. Did you know that? He wrote a letter. And he said, first he says, if you were thinking of Krishna, then, you know, you went back to God. Otherwise, you went to the heavenly planets. But you went back, you know, because you're, you know, such a sincere devotee and so dear to Prabhupada and his service for the Rath Yatra and so many other things he did. Exemplified surrender, you know. So that was a successful life, successful ending to the life. And we've had our own examples here, you know. So that's so rare, you know. It's any materialist at the point of death, whether it's sudden or prolonged, is afraid, is frightened, is in great anxiety. You know, there's nothing like because your whole basis for what you consider was your strength and your pleasure is disintegrating for you. You know, it's such. But for a devotee, the basis of success and pleasure and everything is Krishna, is spirit. And so that doesn't end with the body. So it's very instructive, and Prahlāda is, of course, instructing his father, who won't take the good instruction, obviously, and he, as we'll see, he finally can't control himself anymore, and he's trying to kill Prahlāda, but he realizes that Prahlāda is protected, so-called protected, and he challenges the very existence of God. You speak of him, where is he? Where is he? You say he's in this pillar? Yeah, right. Boom. And then it's nurturing gift comes out. There's a roar that like shatters the universe, you know. And Haranjakasipu's got a little sword or whatever he's got. So he kind of plays with them for a while, and then his famous tears them apart, you know. But you know, there's so many backstories. Well, okay, you know, that's one birth of Jai and Vijay. You know, then they're going to go 3 births and he'll go back. But there's so much to learn here, and these chapters are so incredible. And then the prayers are like almost the crown jewel of the whole pastime. So much is in there teaching us, and it's the proper mentality for the preacher. You know, understanding that we have the great devotee has no trouble. Anytime we can have a big kirtan and have so much bliss. But what about all the millions of people out there? You know, all right, well, let's take it out, the kirtan, you know, distribute the books. That was Prahlāda's mood. He said, I have no problem. It's such an immortal line. Any time I can chant your powerful glories, Virya Gayana, sing them, Mahamrita Magna Chitta, and immerse my consciousness in an ocean of nectar. Any time means even as when they're trying to boil me in oil or throw me off a cliff, I'm still remembering you and I'm still in bliss. Can you imagine? So he has this wonderful prayer. But then the clincher is, he says, but I am lamenting. Should show, what are you lamenting for? You're in bliss. For these fools and rascals. Because he feels the affinity, you know. It's very instructive. For these fools and rascals have turned away from you, vimukha cetasa, for the sake of sense gratification, indriyartha, maya sukhaya, the flickering illusory happiness that comes from sense gratification. That's what they're engaged in. So I'm lamenting for them. So what are you going to do? Maya sukhaya badam udvahito vimudhan. So it's interesting, to enjoy that happiness, they're bearing a great burden. You have to get the money, the senses have to be right, you have to be in good health. You know. So there's a big burden of trying to enjoy materially. Badam udvahito vimudhan, completely fools. So the next verse he describes, I'm not going to be like these selfish so-called munis who just want their own liberation. He calls it Svava Mukti Kama. It's a type of lust. My liberation, let everyone else go to hell. That's not transcendental. That's material, even though it's mukti. And what do? They take, they don't speak. Maunam charanti. They wander where there's no people. Naparartha nishta, not being determined at all to help others. That's what he condemns them. But I'm not like that. I can't abandon them. Why, Lord? He's speaking to Lord. He's saying, because I don't see any hope for them but you, and I have to give them you. That's what the preacher does. He's a medium to give the suffering souls Krishna. And so Prabhupada was perfectly exemplified that spirit, and he inspired the sincere disciples to be part of the Sankirtan movement to give it out. And today, procession to the beach, 4 o'clock. Don't miss it. Are we going to carry the deities or just have a kirtan? Anyway, whatever develops. Just show up. Because the weather is getting nice. If it's sunny out there, it can be a lot of people. Last time we tried, there was a lot of wind and cold. We did. But spring, I think, is finally coming, Anyway. So that's the mood there. Okay, any discussion or questions on these points? Yeah. Come on, Chad, you always have something interesting. Tell us one of the Sankirtan stories from you going out all the time.
The Sankirtan? Oh, Hare Krishna. Well, thank you for the inspiring lecture. Well, we had a chance to go out with Brigapati to Prabhu to the schools, and it was very enlightening. His refined technique. It was very effective. I don't know if this is really the place to talk about it, but it was just a great experience.
Why not?
So I guess he put a bunch of boxes of books on the table, and then they set stacks of books up on each side. There's two. Well, actually, there's 4 of us there, and then they would go up to the students and they would ask them what their major was. And then as soon as they said their major, whatever it was, they would say, "You're qualified, come with me." And then they bring them over the table and they put a stack of books in their hands. And then they started talking about the whatever book it was and giving the pitch, and it was very effective. So yeah, it was a.
By the way, I didn't really know I was going to give class today, but one of these days there's a book called the Srila Prabhupada Tributes book. Many you know about it. It's for Prabhupada disciples, for Vyasa Puja offerings, and they've been writing me, and I've been writing them the last few years. So I thought I'd read a few from last year, to get some inspiration, So I read. This was just an amazing, and it's a Sankirtan story. It's an extended Sankirtan story written by Shivaram Swami, and he refers there to an offering he wrote years ago about one grandmother who got a book. She was a strict Catholic, and she confiscated the book that her daughter got. She read it, and she became a fanatical Hare Krishna, and she turned her whole family into Hare Krishnas. It's an incredible story, and this is not exactly like that, but it's similar. That one, I think it's a young girl gave her mother a book, and she became completely into she followed everything. She started chanting Hare Krishna. No, she didn't meet any devotees. It was all just from the books. She started chanting Hare Krishna, and she was, the marriage. Unfortunately, her husband wasn't into it. There was all of this. Anyway, I'll read it to you. It's quite remarkable. Eventually, the whole family becomes devotees, and finally Maharaj hears about this lady and says, for 10 years she's been doing this just from here. So he contacts her and finally initiates her, and it goes on like that, and it's just a miracle. And at the end, Maharaj says, and all this happened, we didn't do anything. We didn't, she just did it from the books, and all we did was distribute your books. So it's like an incredible book distribution, successful thing, and it's very moving. So I'll read that offering when I remember next time I give class or whatever. Anyone else? Dharma? Raj has something.
You said Maharaj has something?
No, Dharma Raj.
Oh, okay. So Prahlāda Maharaj speaks about not having enemies, seeing people as enemies and friends.
Yeah.
I understand the enemies part, but can you talk about the friends part a little bit? How we're not, because aren't I supposed to see all of you as friends? Like,
well, he's speaking there in terms of material friendship. In other words, this is my friend, and he scratches my back, I scratch his back, but this one over here is a different color. We can't be friends. You know what I mean? It's a material vision. Of course, the devotee is trying to be the friend of all by giving them whatever Krishna consciousness they can get. Even to the extent, where was I reading this recently? How Haridas Thakur was saying, yes, we should chant to the animals, chant to the trees, and everything, because there's some benefit there. But that idea of that being the friend to all, that I think that was part of the title of that book that Murla Bakriti put together about Prabhupada, and that's it's a spiritual friend. The best friend, and the spiritual master is the best friend of disciples and everyone. But sometimes they're speaking very harsh words, cutting out. What is that famous verse? Tato duksang mutsrija satsu sajjeta buddhiman santa eva chindandi monovyasagamuktabi. It says, therefore, Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. Therefore, one should give up completely all bad associated. Duk sangam utsrija means throw it away. And satsu sajjeta buddhiman, if one is intelligent and associate with sadhus, And especially this is the spiritual master speaking, Santa eva sechindanti monovyasagamuktabi, because with their strong words, they can cut out the powerful material desires in your mind. In other words, you need surgery sometimes, these strong words. Just like Krishna, as soon as he's in the position of a guru, you're speaking like a pundit, but you're like learned words, but you don't know what you're talking about. You're lamenting for what's not worthy of grief, the material body. So that's the best friend. Your best friend isn't someone who's going to help you enjoy sense gratification. So that's the idea. Hare Krishna. All right, we've got to get ready for the greeting of the deities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.